All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the OMM podcast. 2025. Grateful to be alive. Have a great show here lined up with the big man, Big Tommy Stiles, a great coach, a great bodybuilder, and a great person. So it was great sitting down with him. Had a lot of laughs, also a lot of knowledge about bodybuilding and life. So I hope everyone enjoys that. Get over and check it out. Also, check it out on OMM Podcast on YouTube and Spotify. Also, like and subscribe, please. Also, OMM Podcast on Instagram and Old Man Muscle KC on Instagram. So get over there, check that out. Appreciate you. And check out the shows. Get back, let me know what you think. And hopefully we can do it better and better as we go. Thank you, Tommy, again for getting on, and look forward to having you back on again to yak it up some more about bodybuilding life. And much love to everybody, and keep it pumping. Peace. All right, welcome everybody, whoever that is, but to the OMM podcast here. And I appreciate we got a great guest here tonight, Big Tommy Styles here. I call a professional coach and someone that's I've watched over, had no clue who, you know what I mean? Just getting back and watching you online on social media and inspiring me, to try different things and try these different workouts and stuff. Not, you know what I mean? I've always been more like old school. You know what I mean? Just just basics. It's basic. But thank you so much for joining, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little better. You know what I mean, my friend?
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, man. I remember you from back in the I don't know if you're on Geared Up, the Facebook group.
Yes, yes, Adam.
Yeah. You used to post some freaky old school conditioning photos that you had. I loved it, man.
Right on, right on. That's right. Yeah, that's been Adam. Rest in peace. He's a troubled soul at the end, but he was super cool to me. You know what I mean? He was good, and he went out of his way to help me a couple times. So thank you, Adam, wherever you are. You little train that never could, would, whatever the hell that video was. He had the mountain dog in there though, pushing him through it. So that was awesome. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
that was. I love that. That was a good social network geared up.
Yeah, that was some of my early years of competitive bodybuilding. I was in the Geared Up Facebook group, and I just watched and listened. I didn't talk a lot. I just like to hear everybody who was in the game longer than me.
Oh yeah, awesome. That's a good thing. That's a good trait. I used to just take jobs in gyms in St. Louis, Dallas. I'd just keep my eyes and ears open. You know what I mean? I'd be just hanging around, just trying to see, what I could pick up, and like you probably figured out some are bullshit. You know what I mean? People different things, you just gravitate to, and I've always kind of walked my own walk kind of thing, you know what I mean? So kind of like what you are. You're doing some different I tried some of your the training system. I know when I was coming up, I just basically did Dante's pennies on a budget, you know what I mean? That kind of shit, and but I grew like a weed from it, and I just kept and I followed, Chad Nichols has been a good friend for years and years 30 years now. But I did more of those meals back in the day with my boy Tom Prince too, rest in peace. He'd always
Yeah.
got me on. We'd eat like 4 or 5, just like not meals that you would like meatloaf, potatoes, and green beans, for at night, turkey, mashed potatoes, dressing, more greens, or salad, that kind of shit, in the off season. Just it
Right.
wasn't we didn't really care about, flexing abs on Instagram on which I don't think
Didn't
was
have
good. You know what I mean? I don't know if that probably wasn't the healthiest way either. You know what I mean? What do you think of that? Like eat a lot, cut the other stuffs down a little bit, but just fucking eat like a horse and then get after it.
I think it's like a pendulum. I think where we're at now, we've almost gotten too far away from that. And where it was then, I think you guys could have benefited from cleaning things up a bit more than you did, but not getting to where become. I think because people are afraid to get big. They're afraid to get fluffy. They're afraid to. I don't think you should lose your abs, but you shouldn't have sharp, streamline obliques. And there's a reason it's called the pre-contest phase because you're getting ready for a contest. So even with me, I think I'm a little neurotic, but I also have had gut issues that I've had to work on the last few years. So before that, I used to push as many I mean, a few times a week, I would just load a blender up and as much stuff as I could cram in there and keep
Oh
the lid.
man,
That was like
really?
that was a meal. And
Yeah.
then I'd eat out a lot in the off season. I'd go to IHOP. I'd do sushi. I'd do, I McDonald's probably because Palumbo was
Oh
doing it. I know I did that a
yeah.
little.
Oh yeah, Palumbo. Thank you so much. I think why am I getting shredded? I'm eating double cheeseburgers. Yeah, you bastard.
Yeah.
You're
So
right though. That's so true.
I think there's a happy medium, and somewhere it's on each individual to kind of find it. But if you want to get big and your goal is to be a freak and huge, you're not going to do it on you're not going to do it tracking your sauces and being clean year round. You're going to have to push it a bit. And then, obviously your blood work and all that kind of dictates some of those things. But,
True.
you
And
know,
people nowadays are on that blood work, man.
yeah,
You know what I
it's a
mean?
valuable tool. It's a valuable tool.
Absolutely. And I never I'll be honest, I didn't give two, you know what I mean? I went 20 years without getting blood work. You know what I mean? Not the smartest. I'm not saying do it, but but I knew my body. I could tell. You know what I mean? I could just feel different things, and I learned when better put on the brakes right now. You know what I mean? Just not the best way of doing it, but here I'm at. Going to be 59, and we're still kicking. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, blood work, I started competitive bodybuilding 11 years ago and it was available, but it wasn't where it is now, 2025. Like I can get blood work like that. So it's even come a long way in the time I've been bodybuilding. So I imagine when you were in your peak, getting blood work was one, it wasn't talked about, and two, it was really hard to do.
You nailed it right there. It's hard to do because anytime you go into a doctor, first I got to take crap for this dude, and then I got to, you know what I mean? I can't walk in there at 270 and say I got to get I'm 5 foot, whatever, and ask him to give me some blood work, and but yeah, you're right. You're so true. Now that's what's changed me. I mean, yeah, you can get it anywhere, so I, definitely keep a better eye on it now. But I'm trying that supplement you suggested by Leviathan, the whatchamacallit for blood thickening. So
Oh, hemoflow.
hemoflow. So tomorrow I'm going to I'm getting some done, getting some because they try to do my glucose and my hematocrit I'm still thick as shit. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So
That
I gotta
product
go.
that product helps me. I got thick blood too, so
Yeah, I'm gonna see what and it's something I haven't really I don't know if I really never really just the last few years it's been really thick. Before I never really had any issues with it, so but I
yeah.
didn't really follow it as much either. So it probably did. It just did. It probably worked its way out eventually. Always
Right.
get. I didn't even give blood that much, so which is crazy.
Yeah.
Now I'm a
Honestly,
gallon member. I get cards in the mail. I'm a special member now. They invite me down. I was like, you really want to get down that blood? Okay.
yeah. Yeah,
And
they're
have some jacked up looking. He's
calling you every 6 weeks.
Yeah, right, right. I do the doubles, but
Yeah.
Dante was saying now that if you give blood, it's almost like it makes it worse. Is that what he was? Kind
So
of.
it's like a band-aid in a sense because it signals your body to produce more red blood cells because it notices that you've lost an amount of red blood cells. You know what I mean? So it's like the
Yeah.
body responds to you dumping by creating more.
Wow. Yeah, I could see that definitely. And that's you know what, and I understand. I need to do some changing. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
asking for new results doing the same crap. So I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I get in there like just take the damn blood out so I can keep playing. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be in the game still. So that's just the way it is. So but yeah, so other than that, you grew up in Michigan?
I did.
How long did you live up there till?
2019 is when I moved out to Arizona. So,
Oh
uh,
wow.
yeah,
Really? I thought you went there a little early. Okay. Wow. And
yeah,
how old were you when you moved away from Michigan?
that would have made me 28.
Okay. Wow. Spent all your till 28 all the whole time there in Michigan?
Yeah, I bounced around. I'm from up near the capital city, Lansing, right in the kind of the center of the state.
Oh yeah, for
From
sure.
a small town, and then I moved down to Metro Detroit when I was a firefighter. I bounced around a lot of cities there. Left firefighting in 2018, managed a gym, did some personal training, was just kind of bouncing around, making ends meet, bodybuilding, and then I just had a wild hair up my ass to move west, and you know,
Wow.
gave myself a month to do it. My dad was heading out west to camp in Nevada, so he helped
Oh,
me move a little bit. We just threw some stuff in his trailer and
wow.
hit the road, man. 3 days later, I was
Man, I love hearing that though. So you're all right. Your passion was for bodybuilding though, and you're going west to be better at bodybuilding, pretty much, right? You to get,
yeah,
you weren't going just live the Arizona life, but you were going to pursue
yeah.
bodybuilding,
So
which was a great state for bodybuilding. You know what I mean? I always
right,
moved to places. I always looked. I've been in KC for so long, but so that doesn't count. But I remember I'd look at Atlanta,
yeah,
Florida, LA. You know what I mean? The just places where I could pursue Dallas.
yeah.
Pursue bodybuilding.
Well, Dusty Hanshaw is my mentor, and
That's how I
one
was
of
gonna get it. Okay.
yeah. So he was
I was
here.
yeah.
He was just like it was between here and Vegas because I had just been in Vegas for the Olympia about a month earlier before I moved, and just in being there, I was loving the environment, and I had like 5 people ask me if I was a trainer and if I had a card. So in my head, I was like, man, I think I can move out here and I can train people. I can run a coaching business. Like I think I can do this full time bodybuilding thing, like and make it. And
Right.
so Vegas was in my head, and then I brought it up to him, and he was like, the area I'm in is solid. You know, there's gyms everywhere. It's a great bodybuilding community. Vegas is 4 hours north if you want to travel to it. He's like, you make up the decision that's best for you. And I was like, all right, I'll move to Arizona. And a month later, I was there. You know, I just
Wow.
moved to Scottsdale. It's funny where I live now. Right across the street is the hotel that I lived in for a few months when I moved here.
Really? Wow. That's awesome.
I stayed in
Damn.
an extended stay. It's got the kitchenette, so I could bodybuild from it. It was great, man. I loved my first few months here.
Wow. You stayed there for a few months, huh? In that
Yeah,
extended
I got an
stay.
apartment
Yeah.
after that. But all my stuff was in boxes, just pushed in the corner of the hotel room. The maids came in. I took my picture in the doorway every week. You know,
Oh
I was living
yeah.
a, kind of like Kai Green in those old school videos.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, I had to live out of my car to do a couple of times. You know what I mean? Save on rent, and everyone said, "Oh, poor Gary." I'm like, don't feel sorry for me. I'm all good. The tricks of the so Arizona. When you met Dusty right away when you went there.
I'd already known him for a few years. We were working together as he was my coach at the time.
Oh, okay.
So we were he kind of was very influential. I remember when I quit the fire service, everybody around me was kind of like, "What are you doing?" Like, I was 26, kind of,
Yeah.
it was a career, it was a job, it was a benefits, pension, all that, and he was the only one that was like, "Congrats, now you're free and you got to make it happen on your own." And that just changed my outlook. I was like, "That's right.
Wow.
Life is what you make it. You get to do what you want in life." So, I'm grateful for my time as a firefighter. I learned a lot, but it wasn't
Right.
what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I wanted to bodybuild. I wanted to make a living from bodybuilding, and I wanted to coach and train and just live the life. And
Right.
it took a while to make it happen to where it was like I could breathe and I had financially got myself set, especially because I moved out here and then 4 months later the pandemic and all that started. So there was like a year and a half where it was just kind of
Oh
like,
man.
and I was scraping pennies. I was driving for Lyft. I was moving furniture. I was doing odd jobs on Facebook. I was training people. I was working at a supplement shop. It was just like
Whatever it took.
whatever it took. Yeah, I wasn't going to be denied
Wow.
because I didn't want to move back to Michigan and have anybody be able to like um, have an "I told you so" moment. So I was just like,
Yeah.
if I end up homeless, I'm going to keep doing this until if I lose my last breath, like whatever. So
Wow.
um,
Man. That's inspiring right there. And I feel that because that's you know what I mean. That shows you you're a different animal because not to get in, but there's a lot of dudes over the year that they wouldn't be hustling that hard. You know what I mean?
yeah,
They just be would doing whatever. Wow. So pandemic hit right then, and did the gym shut down too out there?
Yeah, everything did, man. It was
Everything.
they shut down and then they opened up really quick. So I thought we were in the clear, and then they shut down a second time because whatever, I can't remember the reasoning, and then everything just kind of was.
Yeah.
It was a it was the wild wild west. We were training. Uh, we were still training, but we couldn't post, so we were making our videos black and white. We had paper tape on the window. We
Really?
had some gyms that
Wow.
like wouldn't let us in, and it was kind of fun because it was like felt like prohibition, like we were bootlegging just to train.
Right. Big time. It was the underground, you know?
Yeah,
I always
exactly.
say
Like
bodybuilding in the 80s, they loved us. I
yeah,
remember going to shows and packed house. When I did the Mr. Sarasota, when I got out of the Marines in 1989, Limos took us to the show. You know what I mean? The contestants, you know what I mean? Had us
yeah,
up, and there was like 3,000 people in the audience, and it was just bodybuilding. Though there was female bodybuilding, men's bodybuilding, nothing else. You know what I mean? So the shows were, but 80s they loved us. 90s after Jose came out and talking all that, we had to go underground again a little bit. You know what I mean? Just kind of lay low, and then
yeah.
2000 start. But now it's great. I think it's awesome now. You know?
I love it. As much as there's negativity out there, I still think there's a ton of positivity. There's a ton of growth, and if you want to focus on all the negative stuff, that's just a personal choice. But there's so many good things happening every day. There's so many awesome people. So social media and all these it gives us you and I a chance to talk. It gives us. I've met so many cool people through bodybuilding that I never would have without it getting growing and social media growing at the same time. So I'm forever grateful for it. You just got to know how to siphon through the negative stuff, kind of like the news with politics, right?
Right, absolutely. Big time. I agree because I agree with you 100% because, I always say old school, but I love it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like you said, talking to you made it, you know what I mean? It's just nuts, crazy. So you're looking thick too. You're looking good. Your
I,
pictures you're showing, you're looking good, man.
I just started dieting here about a week and a half ago,
I'm
so
seeing that, man. So it's, gonna just turn it up a little bit, huh?
just a little baby
Just a
step.
little, I'm impressed by you by how you take these steps, and then it's like bam. Like when you showed your before and after, that was insane. You know what I mean? And staying lean, like you know what I mean? Just a good quality muscle. So good for you, man. So did Dusty help you get in that groove? Did you find that way, or does that? Of course he did a little bit. I mean, you know, what I mean, everybody you work out, you kind of take things from, and then what did you take from him, and what did you kind of have to say? Okay, and did he take that all right?
Um,
You guys are friends though more than now, right? You guys are tight, you know. You were
yeah,
there when he choked on that fucking steak and all that, and God bless he's still around, because I love his personality on the show. He keeps it real, and that's all you can do. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, Dusty's my brother. I mean, that's my family right
That's what I
there.
thought. Okay.
He means a lot to me. I would do anything for him. That incident obviously shows it, but if he called me right now and said, I need you in South Carolina tomorrow, I'm booking a flight. I'm not even gonna ask him why. That's the type of loyalty him and I have to each other. I always tell people I'm very, very quick to give credit. I would not be where I'm at if it weren't for him just kind of guiding the way. And he didn't necessarily do anything for me other than lead me to some doors that I then had to put in the work and walk through. But he's done a lot for me in terms of just showing me what's possible if you aren't afraid to work and you aren't afraid to believe in yourself along the way. And then from a training standpoint, I kind of look at my bodybuilding in like two chapters of like my training before I met Dusty and then my training after and now. Because he's who showed me what true intensity really is. When I met him and when I started working with him, I trained hard. I was probably
Right.
one of the hardest training people in the area, but he showed me how to take it, 10 notches to the next level. And that was even through training videos. I would send him videos every week and I was doing DC and he's like, it's a good set. If I was there, I got 2 bar reps out of you. Or I noticed you push your shoulder sets to failure, but you're not taking your legs to failure. Are you afraid? And just shit like that. And I was like,
Yeah.
man,
Right. Damn.
dude is
Yeah.
talking shit. Like I'm gonna prove to this guy that I can train. So if anything, he just challenged me to dig more out of myself from a training perspective. And I think I learned how to take things too far with training, which is I think a lot of people never get there. They never learn true
True.
intensity, and they never learn how to really, really, really take a set to brutal failure.
Right.
And then at some point, you kind of got to learn how to pull back the throttle just a bit, because I was getting hurt a lot. My knee, I had a few years ago, I had like a partial tear in my patellar tendon
Oh
that I got
man.
therapy for. I was just kind of beating my body up really bad. And then um, I saw the writing on the wall. I was like 31, 32, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to be training when I'm 40 at this rate. So I started to look at things differently of how can I still train hard without being broken all the time.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
that's still something I'm learning about of like
Same here, brother. You
quality
know what I
rest.
mean?
Yeah,
Yes.
trying to remove the emotion from it. So I like to think now I train. I still train with a lot of intensity, but I train a lot more intentional too. I'm not going into the gym and just running my head through a wall for an hour and a half. I'm going in there with a purpose and a mission. And it might not look as hardcore as it used to when I trained. And, I was deadlifting 5 or 6 plates and hack squatting with 8 plates on my back, leg press with 14 plates aside
Crazy.
and all that. But
Yeah.
it's effective, and I'm able to not get injured and keep stringing together good months and building forward. So
Right.
uh, I
Getting
learned,
better. You're
yeah,
getting better. You know what I mean? That's the ticket. You're getting better at it. So and you look better. So that's a huge it's working, you know?
Dusty taught me how to push food too. I was at that
Oh,
point when I started. I really wasn't a big eater. I could stay lean, but I just didn't like to eat a lot. And he kind of put it in perspective of like, if you're not going to eat, you're not going to grow. And I think in 2018, I was like, all right, this is pretty much eating is a job for me. That's how I have to look at it. And that's how I looked at it since. Like,
yeah.
you know, I eat a lot of food, clean food, and it's not enjoyable. It's not, I don't know how you feel about pushing food. It's just like, it's not fun to be full and then know you have to eat one or two more times in the day. You know what I mean? Like, I,
Right.
I'd much rather diet and be hungry than eat.
I got unfortunately I'm a Iowa farm boy and Minnesota factory worker kid. So everything had meals, you know what I mean? That the the brakes alarm would go off. We would eat, farm, you'd eat a bunch, So I grew up eating more, but I didn't get serious about it till Jay Cutler came here. It was in 1999, and he was at a supplement store. A friend of mine that was opening, and he said, "Why don't you come out and hang out with Jay?" My job was to get Jay his food. You know what I mean? And all he asked for that day was make sure I get my food every 3 hours or whatever. And I remember they got late. I said, "You better get that freaking food, man." This ain't. And he told, watching him all day eat like that. You know what I mean? And he said, "You got to get more serious. You got to get as serious with your eating as you do with your training before you can start, making." And it was true. Then it took me, I waited a few years from there, just learning how to eat and what foods, because I think I had like some gut issues too. Just didn't know what it was. I mean, Mike Francois back then had, colitis and stuff. But I remember going, just pounding food and going through an off-season program. Then the next thing you know, I can't hold any food down. You know what I mean? It's not a good deal. But I found out a way, I just kind of backed off. And then like when you just asked me about how I eat, I mean, it's just now I don't I gotta try to just force myself not to eat. Good and bad, especially if there's no but I try to eat, 3, 4 good meals a day, obviously, definitely.
Yeah.
So I just don't I'm trying not to let myself creep to 260s at 60 years old. Probably not the best. I hear that all the time, anyways. You know what I mean? Oh my God, he's too heavy for his age. But hey, everything for everybody.
Right.
Right on. And then you went to so you were a firefighter up there all that time, man.
Yeah,
That's
about
no
four
joke
5 years.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not that's a hard occupation. The first a pro firefighter I met was Porter Cottrell. Do you remember
Yeah.
him back in the day?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was in
Yeah.
Louisville and I thought I was big. I was like 260, smooth, bloated piece of shit. And Porter Cottrell walks in, just he's about 5'6", right before nationals, and he's weighing like 207, 208. And I said, fat boy, you need to start today you start dieting, you know what I mean? It was time, you know. Because he looked
Yeah.
incredible, man. He looked awesome.
I was a big fan of Port. I was a fan of anybody that was a firefighter in bodybuilding at that time.
Oh
So
yeah. Big
Porter,
Steve in Michigan too, huh?
yeah, Steve Kuklo. I remember I messaged with Porter on Facebook Messenger back in the day, just a little bit.
Really?
Yeah,
Damn.
I looked at it. Every show he did, I pulled up pictures for it. I tried to find YouTube stuff, and he was a very good poser, and he held his own against bigger guys too.
Big time. Big time. He had just and in person just so round and just you know what I mean? It just was a flow that like, wow, that's same with Vince Taylor when I saw him up close back in the day. It was just ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just a different look to him. But that's awesome that you followed it. And Steve, did you know him up in Michigan or not really? Different areas?
different areas, different time. I mean, I think he's a little bit older than me.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
he's never crossed paths, but I mean, I knew of he was a legend in the area I was in by the time I was there.
Was
Because he
he?
was,
I bet.
I mean, he was. I think in that time when he was training with Justin Harris and they filmed Project Super Heavy, he was like 19 or 20,
That's
and he was
crazy.
already, you know,
Yeah.
on the on the rise.
He
So
started battling with men, you know.
yeah, he was, squatting 6 plates for reps, deadlifting 6 plates for reps. Those guys were insane, man, and
They were.
their their legend kind of still lives on at that powerhouse Fenton where they
Does it
trained at.
really? Awesome. Yeah. Their what should I say? Their workouts kind of echo in the soul of the building, huh?
Any OG bodybuilders still know about them.
Oh, I love
That's
Justin Harris. I like his methods too. You know what I mean? Super smart and just little too smart for me, but you know what I mean? I try to understand. Can you make that real simple, you know? But yeah, it's very he's got thinks out of the box, you know what I mean? Just some different I liked what he did with Brandon Curry this year too when he got him for the Arnold. He got him looking freaking sharp. I thought he wouldn't come out like that. He did really
yeah.
good, you know.
But I've always, Steve was big too. He's my height, so he's like 5'11", maybe 6 foot, and he's got that just a great structure and a huge frame, and it just when it's filled out, it looks great, man. His
Yeah.
side quarters, his front lat spread, it's just mass.
He guest posed here at I hate to say this because this was brutal. He guest posed here like 295 or something like that, lean, and he came out and I knew one of his old training partners, and I said, "Hey, what?" He bent down to take, and I was like 245. I looked like a little baby in his arms. You know what I mean? Like everyone commented the whole night how tiny I was in Steve's arms. You know, he was ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I
Uh,
mean? Had a great looking physique too. Just a freaking beast, you know, for sure. And it looks like he's still trying to, you know, make money and keep pushing. He needs to. You
yeah.
know what I mean? He got a good fan base and everything. So you're 5'11"? Is that what you about?
Just about, yeah, just shy of.
Good frame. That's why everything looks. That's awesome.
Yeah, just got to keep packing on size.
Packing on the.
That's been the journey for me, man. It's just a little bit more each year. When I started, I came in at a middleweight. I was 172 my first show, and then now I'm waking up at like 260, 262. So
Damn.
that's why
Yeah.
I try to tell people it's a long game. It's not going to come overnight. That size. It's a game. You got to just live the life and kind of keep your head down and just focus on what you got to do each day and not get too caught up in the results because I see a lot of people just get frustrated, especially now. I got a lot of young guys I coach, and
They
they
want
just
it
want
now, huh?
it now, and I'm like, it's going to take 5 years of consistent effort before you even start to really see anything worth looking at.
Absolutely. I agree 100% because I did that. I went like when you're saying eating. I remember I went eating and fat. I probably hogged most people, but you know, I did that. I knew. I said I got 5 years to at least to get this going. You know what I mean? I didn't think about competing. I just like I did, but I did. You know what I mean? It was all about the end of the stage game. You know, at the end. You know what I mean? But I try to just make yearly goals and just try to basically. I mean, it's the what do they call it? Ghost in the room or whatever. Ghost in the machine. It's how healthy you stay,
Yeah,
how you affect things. I tell people this all the time, and not only physically, mentally.
Yeah.
how you keep your
Oh,
shit together and go. Because I've met guys, to coach them. I'm like, what the hell happened? Call them out, you know what I mean? On something crazy happens over the week, you know what I mean? Something just out, you know what I mean? It just you never know. You know how that you must know that from coaching
yeah.
different people how they react to stuff, and it's one of the I mean, that's one of the big things, how you recover and how you take on those certain supplements and how you live through them, and you get better without getting sick and all. It happens. That's
Yeah.
where you learn, and you get sick with some stuff, what you're doing, and then you regroup and go back.
That's probably the hardest part to even talk to anyone about is just, you just kind of you improvise, adapt, and overcome along the way. That's how I've learned it. No one gave me a handbook on what it was going to be like to go on gear and how to deal with it. I was 24, so it was like I was,
Right.
just going into the fire service, and I did everything as textbook as I could. I got blood work. I did everything as, I look at how I did it as responsible enough for the decision I was making. I knew what I was getting into. I knew that I'd be on at least TRT for life. I was very okay with everything. And even that, it still didn't prep you for like the mental change that you're going through of like, man, testosterone is just primal, dude. It makes you into a man. It takes a boy into a man real quick.
Real quick, man. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad.
It's a little of both, trust me.
It's a little both because I've been known to be a little insensitive or whatever. You know what I mean? Just in relation is kind of what I mean, all or go. But over time, maturity and stuff, definitely way better than what
Yeah.
I mean. I'm not locking myself in the house for the week. The anxiety through the roof and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's just like you said, it's just getting your way through it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You can try to. Most people don't understand what the hell. You know what I mean? Going. But it's part of it, and wish everyone the best when they go through it and make right decisions. Try
I
to.
think for me, it's just I've to this day, even since I was 17 years old, I've woken up every single day and wanted to be bigger. That's been my mind set every single day. I've never been like, this is enough. I'm good here. So I that's how it's like. That's how I think of like, what do I got to do today to get bigger or better? And since I've coached a lot of people, I wonder if you don't have that of like, do you not if you don't wake up every day and think about what you have to do for bodybuilding for the day, I don't know that it's going to be for you long term. Because
Right.
even now, would you say that you still think about all the things, with your training, with your eating, maybe not to the extreme that you did when you were competing, but I bet it's still a thought process in your brain.
Every morning, every
Yeah.
day. Like you said, I'm going to bed like I'm freaking getting ready for a guest posting of the world. You know what I mean? It's just, I said every year I'm getting ready for my Olympia. It's always like some. It doesn't matter how old you are, whatever. It doesn't matter what's going on. I don't care if something's hurting or whatever. I've been trained. I'm still okay, I gotta get so much protein. I gotta do that, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I gotta go hit hams. I gotta do this on my hamstrings. Oh man, what are you doing hitting those hams again? But yeah,
yeah.
that's it though.
I don't know what it is. Like it
It
just
might be
hits
it might be an addiction. I guess I'd say it's addiction. A form of it,
probably
but a
class.
healthy one for me.
Yeah. I like it. It gives me purpose. I like it just, I like the foods I eat. I like training. I like it all. It's just what I want to do with my time and my life. So
That is awesome. That's really good to hear because that's a lot of people don't have that. That's good. I want to
I,
just so you don't get to train with Dusty very often then anymore, huh?
not currently, no, he's on the other side of the world. So
Yeah, I went over to South Carolina, huh?
yeah,
Damn.
when we do link up, it's always we always I feel like I'm always like every time I get to train with him, I'm working around some sort of like tweak that I just got. So
Oh
um
yeah.
but we trained. He was here in August and we trained legs. And then before that, a year ago ish, we trained. We were in the UK with Mutant,
Oh,
and we
that's right. I remember you over there.
got to
What
train
an
again.
experience that was.
lost. That was like my I was a kid. I was a kid at that point. Like I felt at like a kid. Because I met Dorian over there at the UK, the Arnold UK.
Wow.
And I
Yeah.
don't fanboy. I've met a lot of pros and I know a lot of pros. And,
Yeah.
that was the first moment that I was just sitting there and I saw him walk in. And I even said, I was like, that's Dorian. And Ron Partlow was just like, what? And then he knows him. So he called him over. And then, I shook his hand and I was like, it just
Oh man.
flashed back for me of like, I used to watch Blood and Guts every day on YouTube when I was
Oh.
17, 18, 19 years old.
Oh. I used to carry the blood and gut. They didn't have the video out yet. He just had the book. And I would
Okay.
carry it at work in Dallas when I worked in Dallas, corporate security for I'd walk and carry it into meetings. They're like, "What do you got?" Everyone else have their freaking their folders and about. I just set that book down right there. I try to read it every damn day. Dorian's approach and his. I wish we would have had that. I was telling John McGrail, my buddy that owns Semi Muscle down there. I wish they would have had that video earlier. You know what I mean? Because I was always trying to picture how that training was going. You know what I mean? So he kind of had to do it, and sometimes he went too heavy. You know what I mean? It wasn't. He still put it on the damn muscle every set, every rep. You know what I mean? It wasn't so explosive, and you know what I mean. And then going in there and doing like 2 sets for leg press, do one, and then go right into. You know what I mean? Load it up. So knock on wood, didn't get hurt at that time, but it was so inspiring seeing Dorian where he came from and his story and just the whole, especially back then. You'd see him in flex, and then all of a sudden you wouldn't see him again for 4 months. You know what I mean? And then he'd show up, bam, he'd be right in your face, like holy crap, which was
Yeah.
cool. And he didn't mind. He didn't mind to get real big, and I mean, he lived that what you had to do. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He did. So, and obviously, yeah,
Well, he took bodybuilding to a new level of size at the time.
absolutely, big time. Yeah,
92 to 93 was like that was the changeover of like what bodybuilding was. It
right.
right into right as he ended is then when Ronnie kind of came and took it to a new level.
Oh,
Um, so
and then
it's
some.
cool to look back and watch the changes in history.
That's yeah, it's wild because I even went to Animal Kingdom a couple times when I lived in Georgia, the Lee Haney's gym, and he
Mhm.
was always in there, super cool, crazy physique. I mean, just different. You know what I mean? Incredible, super cool guy though. You know what I mean? 100% gentleman, and always say amateur, don't be lifting those weights, don't be throwing those weights around. You know what I mean? Always giving you a little basic, keep your form under control, son. But so, which was a good experience. I'd have to walk through the hood. A bus would drop me off, and I'd have to walk 3 blocks through the hood of Atlanta to get to the Animal Kingdom. And people would come out on that because I'd be dressed up like a clown, the '90s bodybuilding, and people would be coming out on their porches and stuff, yelling at me, "Hey, Muscle Man, where you going, Muscle Man? You going to Lee's gym, Animal Kingdom?" I said, "Yes, I am." So it was always positive vibes, though. You know what I mean? People
Yeah,
say, "Oh my God, you're gonna get killed walking through there," but hey, that never
yeah,
had a problem. Super cool. Everyone just loved bodybuilding. You know what I mean? You're different. You know what I mean? They already know you're already messed up. Something else is wrong with you. So they're not gonna. They just want to know. They're just curious.
yeah. And
Anybody, any kind of, black, white, green, or blue. They're just curious. So
my experience, the negativity is online. It's not in the real world. I've never to this day had any negative interaction in public with about anything to do with bodybuilding.
wow,
No,
yeah, right. Isn't that crazy?
it's never bad. It's just online. People. It's a different world online. It's not even real bodybuilding unless you've like been to a show. You can see the difference between online versus being at a show in person and around people who are there. Everybody there is supporting bodybuilding.
Right. That's awesome. Now, do you think you get coaching though is a lot better though, right? With all the social media, like more people, more, you know what I mean? You can get to reach more clients or not really?
Yeah, social media is a vehicle for me to grow my brand and build it bigger and reach more people that I otherwise wouldn't be able to. So like I said, I don't have complaints about social media or bodybuilding. I think bodybuilding's in a great place right now.
Especially
Uh,
$750,000, Arnold. There you go, buddy. Thank you, sir.
a nice payday for,
Nice payday for selling that, you know.
and
That's
then
good.
even the competition that's going to bring, like we the fans get to watch that, whether it's in person
Right.
or live stream. So, um,
People are
I
always saying, "Oh, the old school people are better than the new." I'm like, man, these people are off the hook. These guys nowadays, you know what I mean? Are you
yeah,
kidding me? Derek Lunsford, you think you could be 5'5", 240 back in the day? That would have been a damn freak show, you know? They'd
yeah,
always say, "You're 5'4", you better not compete over 185." They'd always be saying to me, you know, judges and stuff, keep around 185, keep around 185, you know. There's Derek coming out, you know.
position weight.
What's that?
What was the heaviest you competed at?
That was it, about 188.
Okay.
Yeah, so I remember I cut down a couple times and then didn't compete for whatever reason, you know. But one time I couldn't get under like 206. It was at the end, so which was very lean and hard. Yeah, it was. But I get real heavy. You know what? I felt like I got in better shape. People say that when I'd get fat, and then fat, not in bodybuilding terms, but not fat. You know what I mean? Just big, strong, thick, or whatever. And it seemed like I could diet better that way. Isn't that weird? I do
Yeah.
16 weeks diets. All that. I learned from a guy that David Dirth. I don't know if you ever
Okay.
heard of him. He was a pro. He passed away some years ago. He was like one of the wild child, they call it, whatever. He had this wild nickname. He went to the WBF though, and he kind of got slapped on the hand when they came back to the IFBB. You know what I mean? He was Aaron Baker's trainer. There's some old school guys, but he always said do 16 weeks, and it worked. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. Pick up different people, you know. Tom Prince said 16 too, so that's the main guy. You know, so
Yeah,
there's some.
12 to 14 is what I need usually. I stay a bit leaner, but I think
Yeah, you
6,
say yeah.
16 is a good benchmark. And then I think even some people, if they're not used to dieting, like I diet people a little bit longer just to give them a few, if there's an off week or they get sick, or some people, the stress of dieting throws them off. So I'll take people all the way up to 20 weeks and diet
I
them.
should, yeah. I'd be stressed. I'm that
Yeah.
guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I am that guy. I am very, just I don't know what you call it, OCD on it. Very much so. You know what I mean? I remember someone not cooking my chicken right, and having it was like the end of the world, you know. Just chill the fuck out, shut up, and just eat some more chicken. You know what I mean? Eat a couple eggs and shut up. You know.
That's how my first 3 years were. I was fucking obsessed with every detail. I remember like
Oh,
biting half of an almond and spitting it out because it weighed too much. Uh,
right.
I met Dusty and he was just like, dude, don't sweat all that shit. He was
Yeah,
like,
don't
oh,
sweat it.
like, you got to eat in the off season. That's who showed me to like how to push food. Because I didn't do it like that. I was very like regimented and I didn't want to eat off my plan ever. And then he's who like when you're traveling on the road, he's who told me to like order two of everything. You get a burger, get two. You get a steak, get two. That way you don't lose weight when you're out there traveling at the expos or whatever. So I've held that. I still live by that.
That's beautiful advice. I'm gonna have to keep. I'm gonna take that one myself. You know, absolutely. I remember
Oh,
I'd always eat that nasty. I was gonna do a lifting at a seminar. Long John Silver's. Just the
I,
nasty. I'd get the L8 with two extra pieces of chicken, and I'd eat that and just soak in the water and just come out the next day just so bloated. You know what I mean? Not like the old rest in peace, Big Rick, but I mean it was a rich, I should say, piano, but you know what I mean? It would be swollen, no doubt.
yeah. Oh yeah, a little bit of sodium.
So, and the skin hue of Marcus Rule, that sweet purple. That's
Yeah.
how I'd have that light purple look to myself, that glow.
Yeah.
I guess we're gonna have to wrap it up here pretty quick here, Big T. So that went quick, man.
Yeah, man. Good talk.
Good talk. We'll have to get again. I'd love to sit down again.
Part two. I love it.
Yeah, awesome. We'd love it. Big time. Well, you got anything to shout out? What you got going on, man?
I got, I'll be competing here in August. I got a state show in Arizona, and then at the end of August, I'll be in Pittsburgh at North Americans.
Oh
So
shit. Nice. So you're
we're
gonna be what's your show in Arizona? When is that?
August 9th,
August 9th.
11 weeks out from this coming Saturday.
My brother just moved to Phoenix. He's here in Minnesota. He stays in Minnesota during the summer, but he goes down there. I'm gonna have to come out there, you
Hit me
know?
up. I got gyms, I got food, I got it all out here.
Hey, I might not leave, man. You better watch out. I mean,
Hey,
damn, that couch looks good.
you leave
Don't be
Minnesota,
shocked when I bring my own pillow in there, you know? Like, damn, air fryer too?
you come to Phoenix in December, you won't go back to Minnesota. I promise you that.
Hell no. Well, thank you so much, Big T, man. I appreciate you very much. And I love seeing you online doing what you're doing. So it's great talking to you. And I look forward to getting down and sitting with you again, my friend.
Likewise, brother. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Best to you, man. See ya.